It's a game played in Team 4545 League, team event number 60 in week 3, and this game was selected as game of the week. And let's have a quick run through. Where's my sound? There it goes. Little lag. Okay. French defense and the advanced variation. And interesting thing about this opening is that it's the black pieces that are actually going to be attacking in this setup. See, right now black's attacking the base of the white pawn chain. You say the base is B2. Well, actually, in this case, it's going to be D4 because eventually this pawn will be exchanged. Now, normal is Queen B6. This is going to transpose. Let's just show a couple things here real quick, get them out of the way. Okay, Queen B6 is a normal move, and white has two choices here. Bishop D3 is one move, and Bishop E2 is the other. Now, Bishop D3 sets a little trap, and I've actually seen masters fall into this. I won't name any names, but anyway, black thinks he's winning a pawn, but he runs into a trick here. And I've seen French defense players who are masters actually lose from this position. I don't know what they were thinking. Anyway, let's back it up. Queen B6. What black needs to do is stop and play this. So we'll hold this move in our mind for a moment. The other move that white will play is Bishop E2. And as far as I know, the game should lead to comfortable equality. They've been analyzing this for hundreds of years. Well, not hundreds of years, but quite a long time, since before most of us were born. So even though they uncover new ideas down around move 2025, it's very difficult to get any advantage unless your opponent makes a mistake, and that's what's going to happen here. But like I said, let's keep that idea in mind, because here black is playing that bishop d7, and white's playing his bishop to d3, and here comes the exchange that we talked about, and queen e2, and now white is sacrificing the pawn. And if I didn't cover it, I believe this does transpose into the lines where after bishop d3, bishop d7, white goes about his business and sacrifices the pawn. And black's supposed to be okay out of it, so something's going to go seriously wrong here in just a little bit, and we'll see what and why. Let's just stop and take a moment here and reflect. White has given up a pawn. Honestly, it appears he doesn't have full compensation for it. You need 3 tempos to have compensation for a pawn sacrifice. The only thing he has going for him is the black queen could become a target, but it's not that easy to get to her. Like, for instance, bishop e3 could be met by queen takes e5, and you're losing another pawn. So white continues his development, and white really only has a half a tempo for the pawn. White hasn't completed developing his queen side, but black hasn't even started his king side, and that seems to be the key here. I'm not sure how much of this is theory. That's your job to look it up if you're going to play book lines and get stuck with positions that the grandmasters can't figure out because they can't get anywhere. But black does need to develop his pieces here and get that king side in action. How to do it? Well, where do you want this? Where do you want this knight? Well, the longer it can get to c6, and there it's an active piece. It's pressuring e5. It could theoretically go to g6 and do the same. Where does this bishop belong on f8? Well, it could go to c5 and maybe have some pressure on the long diagonal, or black could delay developing it. Let me get rid of these arrows. A little too many arrows. Okay. Black could develop it afterwards, bring the knight out first, get it over to c6, and then park the bishop on e7. Maybe in some variations, black may want to put the knight on f5 too, daring white to take it, because this will open up another square for this light squared bishop on d7, it could come into play at some point on a diagonal that's pretty much closed to black in a French defense. That's one of the reasons they call it a French bishop, because it's trapped in behind some pawns. Uh, I like black's move in principle, but the problem is it's not developing a piece. That's the basic problem. It does weaken the black king side here, but I'm not certain if it's something that white can altogether exploit. Clearly, what black is hoping for is that white will take this pawn, and black can in turn develop his knight with a recapture, and then quickly bring this bishop into play, maybe use the d6 square now that that's safe, and have, or maybe even c5 as I talked about earlier, get castled king side, and potentially have some attacking chances on the f-file. All this while being a pawn ahead. But I don't really see a way for white to exploit the black position if we do the moves I suggest. Okay, let's put this here. Now we've got pressure on e5. Now white's having to defend. It's one problem with the French defense. White's having to defend these things unless white can sack a pawn. But here it seems that black's getting what he wants, and now suddenly black is even ahead in development. Well, it's still about even. White's got his king rook in play. White could try to menace the king side a little bit, and black's a little cramped. It might, if he castles queen side, you might have one of these opposite side castling bonanzas where both sides try a pawn storm. But I would think the game would be up yet to be decided, and all depend on the creativity and fortitude of both players. But f6 just seems to land black into a losing game very quickly here, because here comes this check. And I guess worst case scenario, if black could just put his king on d8. That's a move we don't want to play. But I'm not too certain how white gets at that king. Let's see. Maybe the queen could penetrate to f7 at some point, but you got to take care of this bishop here first. But clearly the path that black goes into is just wrong, because he's going to end up with a huge material deficit. Now he should move his king, but instead he makes a bold sacrifice. And if you look at the white pieces now, they're pretty much all on the side of the board. Look at, here they are. But what does black really have for it? His king side still remains undeveloped. This knight on g8 is under attack. There's some pressure on e5, but black's given up the exchange for this. White has what, 6 pawns? Black has 6. White's given up an exchange, or black's given up the exchange. Is this enough? We shall see. And now comes an annoying pin, and black needs to castle. And black's getting some development here, but the price he's paying is a rook. No matter how you slice it, white is down a rook in this position. Maybe black thought he could get somewhere. Let's kind of look at his time decision. I didn't mention that. It's one important thing about having these timestamps here. Okay, they've both pretty much been playing off the increment here. They both have just over 45 minutes left. But black did take some time on this move. But when you're not sure what to do, develop a piece. That can rarely be a wrong thing. I wouldn't say never, but it can rarely be a wrong thing to just develop a piece. Okay, and now let's look and see what white does. White does spend close to 2 minutes on that move, factor in the increment. And black makes a decision after just over 2 minutes of thought. So clearly there were only, 3 legal moves in this position? Let's see. No, 4 legal moves. 3 legal moves. Yeah, the king has 2 moves and the pawn has 1 move. So probably he should have spent a little more time in considering this, because everything that happens is kind of deep. Now, here he took right away, let's see, 33 seconds gained on his clock, so he spent 12 seconds on the recapture, so he had it planned. And now that was played fairly quickly. And this is, fairly quickly again. I'm looking for a time when Black all of a sudden stops and takes his time if he does. But White's clearly taking a lot of time. Look, he spent 20 minutes trying to decide if on this move, which really looks like it forces a win. Probably has to work out a few things. Is he going to lose this rook down here? That's one of them. Well, let's go forward and see. And that question will be answered. But for what it's worth, White's ahead of old rook. Okay. Now Black gets this pawn, but White finds a clever move, Knight C3, and now that means the rook is covered, can be protected. White can't take the knight because he runs an annoying pin, and he's going to lose a queen for a rook and a minor piece, and that's just going to put him more material down. He will have a knight for a queen when you take everything into account. So now it's just cleanup time for White. The rest of the game plays very easily, and White pretty much has his choice of ways to win this. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to this game, but it's nicely played by White. He took the possibilities that Black allowed him and maximized on those possibilities, found the right moves, and here they come. Now White can, not only is the rook ahead, he has potential attacking chances against the Black king. Everything just about is pointed towards Black's king. Even the queen is pressuring this rook on d8. All we need to do is liquidate that knight on c6. There's a couple pieces in the way, but we're getting one off the file. Okay. And that does it. Now the threat is rook takes c6 as well as knight takes d8. And here I think White could just play rook takes c6, but there's many ways to win this. Let's see. Rook takes c6. It can't be a bad move. Black needs to save his rook, and once again White's just a rook ahead. So it's just a matter of which minor piece White wants, and White took this one off. Now the threat of rook c6 is back, and it probably would have been decisive right here. Just rook takes, pawn takes, and put the queen on e7 and attack the rook. And if Black tries to move like rook c8, we're just going to chase it out of there. And White can win this in several ways. Rook b1 certainly looks deadly. The threat is queen b7 mate. But anyway, White just proceeds on his way. Oh, I didn't notice. All of a sudden, Black's time went way down. Where did it start to go down? He's taking about 3 minutes a move here, but he's taking it well after he got into trouble. Let's see. See, yeah, he's taking his time once he's a rook down. So that time could have come in handy earlier, if he just played king d8 or not even played f6 and opted to develop a piece. And now White actually has more time, and Black's is running out. There's so many ways to win this. Get another queen. That's certainly one. And White's basically got Black in a bind. White, he's a rook up and threatening to do more damage. And here, a little tactic. If you take the queen, other bad things are going to happen. Here they come. Check. That way you can, you'll be able to take this knight with check, I think. Let's see. If king here, a7, check. Yeah, you're going to pick up this knight with check. Might as well take it with check while you can. And now the king is just a target. He's exposed. The rooks come into play. Black should resign, but he's playing on. And I think he plays one more move and sees that his king and queen are forked. And that is the game. Really not much to it, but the attack was well played by Invicta-Knight. So I'm sorry, dabodhi, but It just wasn't your game here. The error seems to be, I'll focus back on F6. Logic says develop a piece 97, or maybe bishop C5. Bishop B4, I didn't mention that. Bishop B4 has the idea that if you kick A3, that you'll bring this bishop back to A5 and utilize it from B6 to pressure F2. But anyway, I want to thank you for looking. Thanks for your time, and I'll find out what other videos we need to be made. I've been very busy lately, and I haven't had a chance to get in here and get these done, but I will get them done shortly. Thanks. Take care.